everybody, today I just wanted to do a brief video talking about my MacBook Pro that I've got. It's about a 6-month review. I've had it since November last year, and I just wanted to go over some of the features and my decision on why to get it and kind of the history of Apple and why I get Apple products. I guess if I had to go back, I think my very first experience with anything Apple was iTunes when they ported the program to Windows. And I had my very first computer I had on my own. It was an old Windows XP computer. And I had thousands of songs and got iTunes and loved it. It was a great program. And I think that was my gateway into Apple. I shortly thereafter got an iPod video. This is dating me. Loved that device. It had like a hard drive in it. It was super advanced for the day and enjoyed it. I think that there's some sort of an experience or something that goes along with owning an Apple product. I think that there's just something special about it. The devices are always really well made, and I really like their stuff. And a few years later, I got into iPhone, and it was just time to get a new one year, and it wasn't that much more expensive to just get an iPhone, so I got an iPhone 4 and loved that device. It served me well for years, and over the years I've owned multiple iPhones. So that's kind of just my gateway into the Mac. Eventually bought an iMac. This was like 10 years ago, and I bought it refurbished from the Apple Store, and it was an awesome computer. It still runs to this day. I still use it for old programs that aren't supported anymore, and I have it boot camped. It runs Windows, and it runs Mac OS, and it's awesome piece of kit. It was a really great computer. So it was kind of a no-brainer for me to just continue on. It was time to get a new computer. It was getting old. The biggest thing was it had an old style hard disk drive, and I wanted something with an SSD. That was my biggest thing. And decided I've always kind of wanted a laptop, wanted a MacBook, and it was time for me last Christmas time, to finally just upgrade. And this is kind of my 6-month review of the MacBook, the experience of owning a MacBook. And I have to say, overall, it's a great piece of kit. I love it. It's a really convenient computer, and I did download a couple games just to benchmark it. It was just kind of fun. I didn't purchase this computer to play games on it. Absolutely not. That's not what it's for. But I think it's fun to just put these things on. If it's available, I like to buy them. So I got Resident Evil 4 Remake, and I got Baldur's Gate 3, and I felt like those were two games that really show you the performance level of the machine, and they both run at 1440p, around 30 frames a second at high settings, and I have some video so you guys can watch here. I didn't do the, I'm just using the Mac OS screen cap, so there's no audio, and I just decided I didn't want to I could have done it, but I didn't want to purchase the software, and I didn't want to rely on third-party kind of, software that I don't really trust. I mean, there's ways to do it, and I chose not to, so there's no audio, but you can see the frame rates. And it performs really well, around 30 frames a second. If you do 1080p in RE4 Remake, you can easily get 60, 70 frames a second, and I think that's really decent performance. I feel like the GPU in the machine, it's really comparable to like a 4050, RTX 4050. I think that's a laptop version of that. I think that's pretty decent. I mean, you're getting a dedicated GPU. You're definitely better than anything Intel graphics. So I think it's a really decent machine. I landed on the M3 Pro, the bin version, the 11-core version of the M3 Pro, and it's a really good computer. I felt like looking at their lineup, looking at just the ladder they have set up. I mean, I'm initially looking at like MacBook Air, but when you spec it out properly, I think that the 8 megabyte of RAM thing that they've got going on, just the entry-level thing, it makes sense for some people if you just kind of want in on the ecosystem, the Mac ecosystem, and you're just going to use it as a web browser and light usage. It makes sense for a lot of people, but for somebody like me that's going to try to use it a little harder, I think anything less than 16 gigs is just unacceptable these days. In 2023, 2024 is just not a good purchase. I mean, unless you're planning on upgrading in the next year or two, which I'm not. So I kind of want a future-proof device to some extent. So it made sense to upgrade, and when you put the money in, when you upgrade it, it sort of made sense not to get the Air. So then I was like, I'm only a couple $100 away from just getting a MacBook Pro, and that's what I really would want anyway, because it has more connections and a better screen, better speakers. It was just a better system. You know, I went up into just the entry-level MacBook Pro, and that just came with the M3, and it was pared down. There was less connections. You couldn't have as many screens connected at once, and it was kind of like it only had one fan, not two fans, and it was a little bit slower. So I thought, hey, you're still stuck at the 8 gigabytes RAM. So if you just to the base model MacBook Pro, you're still at 8 gigs. So if you put it to 16 gigs, you're essentially at the same price as just getting the M3 Pro MacBook Pro. And I thought, man, just get the binned one. This is like, I felt like for cost versus performance, that was kind of the sweet spot for me. I thought, yeah, I wanted the full M3 Pro, the 12 core, that would have been cool, but you're not missing out on a whole lot just by getting the 11 core. So I ended with that one. I thought it was a really nice option, and Apple, you know, I honestly think that should just be the base model M3 Pro. I can't believe they still offer the 8 gigs of RAM in an M3 Pro. For it to be a Pro device, I think that's crazy. But I mean, hey, I'm sure there are certain people that's perfect for them, and it's cool that they offer it, but you know, at the end of the day, I spent about the same amount of money as I would have spent, you know, back in the day when I bought my iMac. I spent about the same amount of money as that. It was $1,800 for that computer. So I expect this to last me. It's a really awesome device. I do have to say I have a Corsair Dark Core RGB, and that was supposed to be a really good mouse that said Mac compatible, and unfortunately, it's not compatible with newer versions of Mac OS. It's usable on the iMac actually, but the newer versions, it just hasn't been updated. So I took that back and got just a standard Logitech Bluetooth mouse, and it just connects, no problems. And I don't hold that against Mac. I think that's just, I wouldn't recommend buying anything from Corsair. I'm officially against them now. But overall, the computer's been great. The speakers are excellent. I love listening to music on it. The keyboard is fantastic. As far as like a laptop keyboard goes, I feel like that was a compromise. I do really love like the old Lenovo keyboards on their laptops. They're fantastic. Best keyboards ever. Like 10 years ago, Lenovo laptops. But it's not as good as that, but it's really decent actually. There's actually a little bit of a concaveness to the keys, so you can really feel the separation between the keys. It's really a luxury experience typing on. I really enjoy it. And the screen is fantastic. It's color correct. It's perfect. Super high resolution. You cannot see any pixels. It looks great. It's really bright. It's HDR. So if you watch like HDR movies on here, oh, it's sweet. And it's snappy. Everything I do on it is really fast. So really enjoy using it. I recommend them. I feel like a lot of haters hate Mac because they think you're overpaying, and you are. But it's such a quality device, and my personal experience owning Apple products is it's going to last a really long time. So I'm pretty happy with it. I am a little bummed that M4 has already started coming out. It was less than a year after I bought it. So that's like my only little gripe is M4 is going to outdate this thing pretty quick. But if I'm kind of anticipating things right, I feel like this computer will be probably equivalent to the base model M4 whenever that comes out, probably in November. So yeah, you know, I've enjoyed this computer for a full year by the time that comes out, so I'm pretty happy. So overall, yeah, I would say that this is another great Apple purchase. It's going to be right there next to the iMac, and I still do have that old 27-inch 2013 iMac, and it's fantastic. All my retro games like Doom, and it actually runs Doom Eternal. It's pretty wild. That machine still runs. So, yeah, take care, everybody. That's just my quick 6-month review of my MacBook Pro M3 Pro. Quickly, I just wanted to talk about one of my accessories that I bought for the laptop, and it is this, I think it's Milken. It's off of Amazon, and it's a little sleeve, and it's really cool. I really like it. It's really neat because it has these little things you can pull up, and you can set it up on an angle, your laptop. You got 2 different angles you can set it on, like that. And it's really convenient. And it's also a sleeve, so you can protect your laptop. And it goes in like this. Here's my laptop here. And you just stick it in the sleeve. There's 2 little things that go in, protect the laptop from falling out. and it's nicely protected in this leather sleeve, and it's a really cool leather. I really like using this. It's really cool, and yeah, you can just, it's got some added protection on the corner here, and just fall damage if you were to drop it. But yeah, overall, huge fan of this thing. It's great. Also, really quickly, I'd like to say the convenience of owning a laptop is so awesome. It's really great just having it in your lap. You can take it on the couch, you can take it to the doctor's office, you can take it to work, and you have everything on the go. But then when you're at home, you can just have an external monitor, and I have a pretty cool setup with an external SSD that I can actually play my games directly right off the SSD. So it saves room on the internal hard drive, and it's super snappy. Also, the SSD in the laptop, super fast. This thing is crazy quick. I have a few benchmarks in the computer that I can show you here. I've just done Geekbench and Blackmagic SSD test, and these are pretty snappy, really competitive times. But yeah, it's also really nice if you just at home want to work at your desk and you can have a mouse and keyboard and an external monitor. It's really convenient. Just hook it up to HDMI and have the full big screen, and it's really nice, really cool setup. And you can literally have two screens open, and I find that so convenient. You can just have your email and your text messages open on the corner, and you can then have, you know, your big screen for whatever you're working on, you know, or just the web browser or YouTube, anything. It's a lot of convenience. It's really great.